Hi there, welcome back to the Rare Book Views channel, where I'm hoping to show you some rare books and some vintage books and give you some thoughts on books that may be rare. And I'd love to hear from you. If you're interested in those things, please do me a favor and subscribe to the channel. Today I'm going to go book shopping at a bookstore that I really love. It's a giant warehouse and they only sell used books. So just a ton of things to try to find some treasures. I have a long list today. I have a bunch of present shopping, gift shopping to do, and I have a long list of people that I try to be the personal shopper and find them the perfect book. And I can't show you those when I find them because they're secrets. And I have a list of popular fiction that I'm hoping to read that I haven't seen from the library, so I'm hoping that'll work out. And then I have the list of special books that I'd like to find a nice edition or a rare book or a vintage book. And then I also look for things that I know are bargain price that I can sell at a profit and support this crazy habit. So I'm going to see what I can find at this giant warehouse. Let's go see what there is. Okay, I did find treasures today. I did find some books that will go into the present category, so I can't show you those, like I said, 'cause it's secret. But I did find some cool things. So I think I found this while I was filming. Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut. I haven't read this. This is not one of the books that I read as a kid in high school. It's not assigned reading for me, but it's been on my list. It's very hard to find a vintage copy, and this one is very cool. I love the dust jacket. Feels like it has been around. It's got a little bit of fading. You can see where there's this line where the sun was hitting it and something was in the way. So wherever this was on the bookshelf, that is the line of delineation. I will put this in an archival cover and I'll put a link to, I did a video of how to do that, how to put them on top. So like a library book where it has that nice cover to keep the dust jacket nice. This is a pretty nice one. And this edition, this is also really cool. The price is still here. People cut this off. I don't know why, but it's still here, which is great. That adds to the value and the collectability. On the copyright page, it actually lists the printing right there. So edition and printing and things, these are terms that people sometimes get confused. And sometimes in the marketplace on eBay and places like that, you'll see people use them precisely correctly. So you have to be a little bit careful. All publishers kind of have their own thing, and some of them have evolved over the years. Edition means we go to the printer and we say, I want X number of books made, and then I'm going to sell them. And that is the first state of the book. It's the original version. That's usually called the first edition. And then if we discover there's a mistake, there's a misspelling, or some kind of printer's error, they'll fix it. And that changes the book. So this is second state or the second edition is usually what we would call that. When they run out of books, because it's so popular, we sold them all, which is always great news, then they just do another run of the same edition, and that's that is the printing. So you can have the first edition, and then we just print it again. That's the first edition, the second printing, and the third printing, and so on. And then if we make any changes or corrections, that's the new edition. So this one just says fourth printing. So that means this is the first edition, fourth printing of this book. And I did some research to see how much does that mean it's valuable. Different books, different deal. Some books, they didn't make very many, and it's super rare, and they're also not very valuable. And some they are. So this one, fourth printing, I found a couple advertised on sites like Abe Books where it's a fixed price. And those are small booksellers that get on the internet that way and get a larger audience for about $125. And I found a couple on eBay that have sold, and they run the gamut. It's best to look at the ones that have sold, not the ones that are listed. A lot of that's aspirational on eBay. I really hope it's worth this much, but I think this probably is worth about $100. I paid $5 for it, and I can't wait to read it. So to me, this is book treasure. Totally worth the trip. I could have found nothing else. I'd be thrilled. I did find Cranford. Look how pretty that cover is. This is an old school book by Macmillan. This is by Mrs. Gaskell. This is a story. I haven't read this one either, and this is on my classics list of things that I would like to read, and I'd like to have a nice copy. This is a cool one. It's got a lot of gilt. It's got nice gilt on the spine. So somebody said shelf appeal, right? It's going to look nice on the shelf. It's got a little heft. I like it when you read a classical book and it has a little bit of weight. It feels like you're doing something very significant when you're reading it. I really hate it when the paper is thin. It's so not enjoyable. This is lovely. The print is lovely. The illustrations are great. This is illustrated by Hugh Thompson. You can see that here on the cover. There are a lot of books from this period that he illustrated, and they often have this sort of way about them. But his most famous is Pride and Prejudice. He illustrated the original version of Pride and Prejudice with a giant peacock on the cover, and that is the holy grail. If you have that book, you are such a lucky person. It's beautiful. And Pride and Prejudice is such a great book. I have the folio of the Jane Austens right now, but I'm always looking to upgrade. And Hugh Thompson, so this is a book that I want to read. It's illustrated by Hugh Thompson. It feels really nice. So I paid more than I would normally pay for a book. I paid $25 for this book, but I'm thrilled to do it. There's also a mini-series based on this book that I haven't seen. So I definitely wanted to read the book before I watch it, and now I get to do it. So awesome. This is a fun book. Harry Potter, the UK edition. This is number 6 in the series, the Half-Blood Prince. So I love the Harry Potter books. I have them around here somewhere. Oh, they're just you can't see them. I did do a tour of my Harry Potter collection, so I'll put a link to that also in the notes. The UK editions are the original. So many books in English their first edition was geared towards the American audience. So we're so self-centered. So we get the American speech, the American spellings. But J.K. Rowling wrote this to be read in England. So the original edition has the spellings that are British and British colloquialisms, things like that. My favorite is that Harry Potter's obnoxious cousin in the American book, his first word is won't, but in the British one, it's shan't. Just love it. So there are a bunch of differences. This is an edition actually I was not familiar with. This is the UK version by Bloomsbury, who's the original publisher of the Harry Potter books. And that great story that J.K. Rowling tried to shop it around to a bunch of publishers, a bunch of them told them no, and then Bloomsbury printed it. And that was the first edition. They printed a pretty small print run of the first book in the series, and if you find that, it's a very rare and very valuable book. This one is the 6th one, and as we went forward in the Harry Potter books, by the time we made it to 6, we knew what we were about. So when they printed this book, they printed, I think, enough for everyone on the planet to have a copy. There might not even have been a second printing. So they're all first edition. And they say in the Bloomsbury books on the copyright page, they say first edition, and that's how you know. And there's a number line, and there's some of these for the printing or for the state, you want it to have a 1. And then for the Harry Potter books, the way to really tell if they've been changed, where we talked about the first edition is the the first way it was printed, and then if they make any changes, that's really another edition. There are these publisher's points that people document. So in Harry Potter, there were a couple misspellings, and they cleaned those up in later printings and later states. So you run when people say I have the true first, what that should mean is that they have the first edition with all of the original version, and that it's the original state, nothing's been changed. So this one, I think probably to appeal to the US audience. People here, like myself, really enjoy reading the UK version, but it's more expensive to get it shipped to the United States. And if you find them, I always pick these up because if you can get a bunch of the series, if you can get the whole series together, then you can sell them at a profit. Also, I have the UK editions, so sometimes I buy them just to check if I can upgrade. Is this one nicer than the one that I have on the shelf? So I picked this one up, but it is actually printed by a company called Raincoast, and that's here on the spine. You can see here's Bloomsbury, here's Raincoast. And on the copyright page, it explains that this is the UK version, but it was printed by a US printer. So they actually got the original printer's set, the way that Bloomsbury planned to print it, and they reprinted it, but physically printed it in the United States, which makes it easier to distribute to people like me who want multiple versions. So I would think this is worth not quite as much as the original, the Bloomsbury, because that's the actual first edition, but it's still really nice to have. This also has a couple of condition flaws. Somebody really opened it farther than it should have been. But I have 5 more UK editions in paperback and hardback, so I'll put them all together and see if I can find a new home for them, and that should help me afford things like my super cheap Kurt Vonnegut, which is awesome. I also found this little, kind of giant. This is the works of Lewis Carroll in the Modern Library edition. I've talked about Modern Library before. This is really great. A company that printed classics in a small format and that is more affordable, so that regular Joes like you and me can get a nice copy of a classic book and enjoy it. And this company's been around publishing books for quite a while, and they have a huge series of a lot of books. And I am actually fascinated by how you can tell which version, because they change the cover art at times. And this one is an interesting little wrinkle of Modern Library. It's called a giant edition because it's big. It's not really bigger this way, but it is voluminous. So this is Lewis Carroll, which is always really popular, and I love Alice in Wonderland. It's one of my favorites. So I picked this up to do some research on it and just find out more about it. And this is really cool. It's this giant book of everything Lewis Carroll published, and I paid just a couple dollars for it. I think that my Lewis Carroll collection, I have a lot of copies of these books, so I think I'm probably not going to keep this, but I can't decide. Sometimes I just like to hold on to them for a while before I make up my mind about what I'm going to keep. But I found some great keepers on this shopping trip. I found a bunch of stuff for other people, and I had a great time. So I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know. Drop me a comment. Tell me what you think about it. And have a great day, and happy reading.